Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strong Start Sundays. I am your host, Dr. Rachel Edoho-Eket, and I'm so excited that you are spending your Sunday evening with us tonight. I want to start by introducing our amazing guest today. She is Dr. Sharon Papukai, and she is the amazing superintendent in Talbot County, Maryland. So I would love for you to come on, let us know where you are watching from, what your role is, and what you are excited about tonight. Dr. Pepukai, we're so excited that you're here. I would love for you to talk a little bit more about your journey to the superintendency.
Well, first of all, thank you, Rachel, for having me here this evening. So excited. I know we've met a few years ago and have just been inspired by the work that you're doing. My journey is, pretty typical. Started off as a classroom teacher, and I was introduced to education from my mom, who was a middle school math teacher. So I saw her doing all the things, that teachers do. So when I went to college, I knew right away I was going to be an education major. And so after graduating, I became a second grade teacher, fifth grade teacher, fourth grade teacher, all things in elementary school. Finished the classroom work, went to assistant principalship, then the principalship. Then I became a principal supervisor, which was a role that there wasn't a lot of support. I know the Wallace Foundation has a lot now, and there's more out there now, but there really wasn't a lot as far as the role of a principal supervisor. But I did that simultaneously with being assistant superintendent over, pre-K 5, overall middle schools, and then took the leap into the superintendency. And so here I am at Talbot County Public Schools, a school district where I graduated from. So I've come full circle. I've come around, and now I am back home leading the district where I graduated.
I love that so much. I was just going to say one of the many things that I love about you is the fact that you were a teacher in your district and now a superintendent there. And were you a student there as well?
So I was just a student here. I wasn't a teacher. As soon as I graduated, I left, spent many, many years away, and then I came back. So I came back as a superintendent. So I left as a graduating senior.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, student there, student to the superintendency is just so powerful.
Yes.
So inspiring. I remember when I was a new teacher, my goal was to get back to my elementary school. That's where I wanted to be, to teach. And I didn't get to do it. And I've had so many amazing schools, but the idea of you being a K-12 graduate of your district and just returning back in the role of a superintendent to serve is like absolutely amazing. And something else, I don't know if you remember how we met. We met at an MSDE event. You remember?
Teacher of the Year, wasn't it?
Teacher of the Year event. And I got lost and we ended up on the same elevator. And I remember just striking up a conversation with you. And what I loved about you instantly was just your warmness, your kindness. You were down to earth. We were like cracking jokes. And we've kind of stayed connected ever since then. And so, you are someone that I really admire. And I'm so thankful that you're here tonight on the platform to talk about something that is so important, which is how do we as school-based leaders connect with our district leadership to, do all of the initiatives that we need to do in a way that works for our schools. And I think this is a perfect time to have this conversation because the school year for some of us have already started. Some of us watching are already into our school year. Some of us, like me, we're starting this week. All of our teachers are coming back this week, and then we will introduce our students coming on the 24th. I think you're like that too, Dr. Kai. And then others of us are starting after Labor Day. So I know we're all coming from different places, but this is the right time to have this conversation. Now, as we were talking a little bit behind the scenes, you have a framework that I'm really excited for you to lift up and talk with us more about tonight.
Yeah, so it's hot off the press. And so for me, there was a strategic plan in place that was just kind of ending when I got here. And so coming here, that was very important to pull together everyone, all the stakeholder groups to form a new strategic plan. And we have that aligned by 2029, has 5 priorities, has your strategies, your metrics. And so what I'm going to be rolling out is a way to align that strategic plan with the work of school buildings, because I think back to when I was a principal, I know there was a strategic plan, but I was really focused on what I was doing kind of in my school. And so could have done a better job of connecting the two. And so the framework that I will be rolling out is the acronym for align, the A standing for articulate. So as a principal, can you just stand up in your own words and talk about the strategic plan? I think oftentimes buildings kind of get blamed for saying, well, district, we have to say this, or district, this is what the district is doing versus making it our own. So A, can you articulate the plan? L, can you link it? Meaning, is there a connection with something going on in that plan specifically with the people in your building? I, what does implementation look like? Because I have 8 buildings, but I don't expect all the implementation to look exactly the same in each of the buildings. G, gathering your evidence. What is the evidence? What does the data say with what you're doing in your building? And then N, are you able to navigate and pivot if things aren't going where you thought they were going to go? And so that aligned framework I will be rolling out for our opening day that will be here very fast on the 21st, where we will assemble in an auditorium and just celebrate a new year starting. So I'm super excited. I think just being there to support, I tell leaders that second to teachers, our building leaders are the number 2 factor for student success. So we want to make sure that we're supporting them all of the time and making sure that they have what they need to run their buildings.
I love that. I really like the Align framework. I put it here on the screen so everyone can see that. And I wanted to spend a little bit more time on some of the points that you brought up. One I really love is the one where you're talking about linking, making it relevant for our teachers and staff, because sometimes we hear an initiative and we're not clear as to why we're doing it or how it relates to what we're doing. And I think staff, if principals are in that position, staff can smell that. And so it's important that I think first as principals and school leaders, we get clear on the why. And if we don't know, we should ask those questions. We should have a space to do that, to provide feedback so that when we're in front of our staff, we can confidently talk about why this is relevant to our school and to our district and to the student success. So I wanted to lift that up because I really like that part of this. And also that N, how are we making shifts if we see that something isn't working?
Yeah. And Rachel, you said a really good thing. You said, and ask questions if you're not sure. Because one thing, what tends to happen is you might think it's this, so then you articulate that. If you're not sure, asking the clarifying questions, I think we have to stop and do that often.
Yes. And also talking about feedback. So, I'm someone that's very big on feedback. I'm someone who seeks out feedback from our teachers and staff, certainly from our district leaders. And can you talk a little bit more about that as a superintendent? How do you get feedback to sort of make some of those decisions? Because that's something I want to know as well. How do you as a superintendent work with your team to come up with initiatives, gather that data, and then to push it back out to your communities?
So similar to you, Rachel, I'm big on feedback. So my first year, we did a survey to everyone in the organization for them to tell us how we're doing. All the departments. So it was schools to department, to district office. So every department, even my department, they were given a surveys to give us feedback, what's going well and what we can do better. We have since morphed that and opened that up to a lot more specific groups, to our instructional assistants, to our seniors. We've asked questions to teachers about their school specifically and their school leadership as far as school improvement. So we have 4 years of data as I'm going into my 5th year. And this summer, we stopped, we paused, we looked at common themes, which we've heard about making sure there's voice, making sure we're communicating. So we're going to look at that at opening day. We're going to show what we've heard, what are the themes that have come out of those surveys, so we can let everyone in the organization know that it's not falling on deaf ears. We're not just doing this just to say we've done it. We really want them to know we really want to hear you so that we can continue to improve.
Yeah, and I love that you are modeling that in the superintendency role, because that's something that I advocate for school leaders and my colleagues to do as well, is getting that feedback survey, really taking in the information. Yeah, there's going to be some outlier information every now and then, but what are the themes? What are
Yes.
the things that are continually coming up over and over again? That's what we really need to pay attention to. And like you
Yes.
said, it's not good enough to just give a survey to say that we did it.
Yep.
People are expecting us to take some action based on
Absolutely.
what we're hearing. And so that's the most important step is after you've gathered the feedback, what are you going to do about it? What are you doing with it? And communicating what is the next step and following through with that. Because, there are some times when we give surveys, if you give them enough time and nothing changes, people are going to stop giving you feedback because they're going to
Absolutely.
say, what's the point if nothing
Absolutely.
is going to change?
Yes.
And so we have to really follow through when we're asking for feedback, and that encourages that collaborative process back and forth to continue to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to pause here and lift up some people who are watching tonight. We've heard from Debbie Gardner. Says she's watching from Talbot County
Yeah.
and she's
My
loving
director of
the topic
communication.
tonight. Debbie, thank you so much for being here tonight. And we also have Nita Creekmore here. She is amazing. She is all the way down south in Georgia, and she said she just loves that you were a student where you were and now serving in the superintendency role. So ladies, thank you so much for being here, and thank everyone for spending your time with us tonight. I also want to pause here and to let you know to please pick up a copy of Relational Intelligence, the Key Factor to Exceptional School Leadership, if you haven't had it already. I think embedded in this conversation are relationships and the importance of making sure that we're not just talking at people when we're talking about initiatives or changes. We're talking with people and we're hearing feedback, and it's a two-way process. I think that's really important to lift up. I also want to share, we have Chris Cavizzi here, and he is also supporting this feedback. As school leaders, as district leaders, feedback is critical to our work in terms of us getting better and improving. So thank you, Chris, for lifting that up, and thank you for being here tonight. So I also want to talk a little bit, Dr. Pepikayu, about how do you celebrate, value, and empower people in your district? Because I know that's another important part of this work.
It is. So those are the three words that emerged when we, of course, look at our survey data, just making sure that, and I just saw this today on LinkedIn where someone talked about, we often have people in the organization reminded of their why, but someone said, what about their worth? And I think, oftentimes, and this just from relationships, people just want to be heard. And I think having the space for them to be part of the work, to be partners in the work. So like you said, it's not being done to them, it's being done with them, is so essential. And I think teachers' value and the staff members that you have within your four walls will go a lot further, knowing they're at the table, shoulder to shoulder with the leaders doing the work.
So true. And I remember having an amazing mentor, principal mentor. This is before I became a school leader, and it was not on my radar at all. But I remember she used to ask me for feedback all the time. And she would say, hey, this initiative is coming. What can we do? What do you need as a teacher before we roll this out? And I really liked that strategy that she used, because before she rolled anything out, she kind of had like a focus group. And we would kind of talk through, hey, I don't think you should start with this. I think you should start with that. And then let us ask questions and kind of go from there. So I think that was a really smart way to lead, because it felt more personable, and it felt like we were valued. I love the word that you talked about, the worth.
Yes.
Everybody wants to feel like we are contributing something to our schools to make them better. And we do. Everybody does. But if that's not highlighted, if it's not celebrated, then people begin to feel like, why am I here? What is my worth in this building? Right. And we never want to take teachers and staff for granted. I know as a school leader, I don't want to be taken for granted for the work that I do, just like you don't either as superintendent, right? So I think that there are many ways that we can lift up and celebrate those, and empowering is such a big part of that process as well. If you know someone has skills and talents within your building, give that person an opportunity to utilize them. You're going to see a totally different side of the person when people operate within their strengths.
Yes, and a lot of people have the strengths and they have talents, and I think it's distributing that leadership to let those staff members shine. And it takes the load off of you as well. So it's shared leadership in what you're doing in the building.
I love that. And we have Vanessa Johnson here. Thank you so much for coming. And I love that you lifted up that point. Again, if we're seeking feedback, but as leaders, we're not doing anything with it, we've lost people in our building. Mm-hmm. And so my thing is, if you ask for feedback, you have to be ready to receive it and to do something about it. That's really important, right? Because don't ask for feedback if you don't want it.
Right, exactly.
Right. And we know in our roles, we're going to get feedback whether we ask for it or not.
Yes.
So in a lot of ways, it's proactive for us to ask for that feedback ahead of time. That way people feel comfortable telling us what needs to change, especially in the beginning of the year. We might have the best laid plans, right? We have some ideas of how we want the school year to go, but there are so many dynamics and changes that can happen that we have to be ready to adjust. And like you said, your word is navigate.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. We have to be flexible.
Yes.
And I tell people, don't take it too seriously, because there are some things in our minds we want, but it may not happen exactly as we wish for them to.
Right. And it's being vulnerable enough to stand up in front of your staff to say, this is the plan. It didn't work out well. We now need to pivot, or I don't know. It's okay. And I think it's being vulnerable to have that transparency to your staff. And I think it gives you more credibility versus just making up something on the fly and then it flopping.
100%. I love that. So true. So can you talk a little bit more about how you support the principals in your district? Because I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So right now, it's a small district, and I have my assistant superintendent holds the title of principal supervisor. And the first thing I did when I came and I put that responsibility on her, I sent her to AASA's Principal Supervisor Academy. And it was a year-long academy where they do action research, so she could learn what that role is. So we meet with our principals once a month. And so we give them the professional development. It's anchored all around the PCEL standards so that we can know, okay, what are you grounded on? What are you good in? What are some things you want to work on? And we continue to have space for them to have their voice, to have what topics they want to talk about. And then she travels around to all the buildings. I may come across an article, a podcast, and I'll shoot them, hey, you might be interested in this. But I continue to let the system know here, even at district office, we are in service to our schools, who are in service to our students. And so as much as we can, we want to lift the load off of schools so they could be there for the students where the magic happens in the classroom. And so that's what I've been doing since I've been here, to try to support our leaders and our teachers, the two most important that are going to move the needle for student success.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think this really speaks to who you are as a leader, because you've served in all those roles. You've been a teacher. You know what it's like to be in the classroom. Mm-hmm. You've been an assistant principal and a principal, so you know what it feels like, that tension to lead a school, some of the challenges and the joys that come along with that role. You've been a principal supervisor. So not only have you in the building yourself, but you've also heard from other principals and different things that they are experiencing. And then now in your role as a superintendent, you have a different perspective and a view that really takes all of those into account. And I think that's what makes you such a special leader, is you've done that groundwork and you know those roles well. And so I think your perspective is really needed and really strong, because you're able to speak to all of those in your district, right? All of those different players. So I really appreciate that about your leadership. And so we have some great people who have joined. Vincent Taylor from Jacksonville. Thank you so much, Vincent, for coming on tonight. It's wonderful to see you. And Vincent just retired, and he is living his best life, doing amazing work. So yes, Vincent had a very, very long career in education. So Deb has also came on to say, find that natural genius in our staff and use that multiplier method to strengthen. And so I really like this. Thank you for lifting this up, Deb. It is important that we find out where the strengths are in our building and give people an opportunity to do that. Let's leverage what's already there. The resources and the answers, I believe, are in the buildings.
Yes.
They're not maybe in the building next to us, right?
Right.
The answers are here, is what we're trying to say. Mm-hmm. We just need to spend that time to learn and not put the pressure on ourselves to, like you said, just because you're a school leader, it doesn't mean you have to have all the answers.
Yes.
Just because you're a classroom teacher doesn't mean you have to have it, or the superintendent.
Absolutely.
We can leverage the minds of everyone to help us come up with better solutions.
Right. And I have no problem asking people.
Right. I know. That's good. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. Like you said, but that takes a level of vulnerability.
Yes. Yes.
Right. To acknowledge I don't have it all right now.
Right.
How can we help each other? How can we work together?
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, I love that.
So my sister is a principal, elementary school in Minnieville, Prince William County, Virginia. And I told her all about you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, and one of my Howard County friends is here. I didn't know you were living in Talbot County now, Alexia. That's wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Oh man,
I have to meet her.
She is amazing. Okay. She's one of our principal colleagues, and she and I go way back because we were all teachers together as well
wonderful.
In our district. So thank you for being here tonight, Alexia. And yes, Dr. Pepikai is amazing, and I continue to learn so much from her. Yes, definitely want to connect you too.
Okay.
That's great. Okay, so now I told you, Dr. Pepikai, this was going to go very fast.
Yes, it has.
It has. We have a little less than 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so I want to go back and ask you just a couple of other questions.
Okay.
You mentioned that you went through you were a member of AASA and some other things. You said that Can you talk a little bit more about what was your decision point or your journey from principal to assistant superintendent to superintendent? Because I'm very curious about that.
You know what? That is a great question. And I tag myself as a reflective practitioner because I always think about the work I'm doing and those next steps, like what's next on the horizon. So with AASA, I've been a member for a long time. As assistant principal, I was a part of the early learning cohort group where we just studied and looked at our most earliest learners in school districts. Fast forward, I joined AASA's aspiring female superintendent. So it's people who are females who are aspiring to be superintendents.
Okay.
And it was at that point that I was surrounded by all female superintendents that had been in the role. And they served as mentors. Shout out to Dr. Catrice Pereira, who was assigned to me. Dr. Latanya Gachni, who is now the president of AASA. Yes. And they were all in the space to talk to us about the roles of female leaders and the fact of we're always like waiting, or we feel like, oh, we got to do this one more thing before we apply. And so I think it was it being part of that cohort that gave me the confidence to say, you know what, I can do this. Why not? And once I then, did it, the rest is history. But I was in this assistant superintendency for 14 years.
Okay.
And all of them said that was way too long. They said that was way too long. You had what you need. There are a lot of superintendent jobs out there that you should have been applying for, kind of slapped my hand, but just the wealth of knowledge, the conversations, the sincerity, the transparency that they all gave us, those of us in the cohort, to say, call me anytime. You will not be bothering us. We want to share anything that we can give to you. So, and not only that cohort, but just being part of ASA, going to the conferences. I presented at a few of them, just the camaraderie. I would tell anyone, connect yourself, and it doesn't have to be ASA, connect yourself to some type of professional organization.
Yeah.
And utilize the resources and utilize all that it has to offer, because it definitely will propel you in your profession towards success.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I asked because I am Superintendent 1 certified. I have to take one more class to be Superintendent 2 certified. And it's something that, has been on my mind indefinitely. And so it's helpful for me to hear people's journeys. Yes. And I really appreciate you lifting up that you were a part of this cohort that really made a difference for you.
Oh my gosh, game changer.
Yeah, I love that when you shared, okay, you have been doing that role for 14 years. And they said, that's too long. You have what you need, right? You need to move forward, right?
That we were doing a lot of great work. I was doing a lot of great work. So.
And you may not have done that move unless you kind of heard that confirmation.
Absolutely. Because like I said, the female leaders are like, Am I ready? Do I have this? Do I need this? Well, wait a minute. Wait till the kids get older. Wait till I take care of this. And it's like, just do it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. And again, just watching your journey and the superintendency and the success that you've had and continue to have is very, very inspirational, not only to me as a woman leader, but also in general, just as a leader that wants to continue to do good work and contribute to the field. I love to see it. I really do. And so we are getting ready to wrap up. And so where can we find you, Dr. Pepikai? If someone doesn't know, where can we follow you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. Sharon Pepikai. That's my main platform that I'm on. Sometimes I'll dip into Facebook. My director of comms, who was on here, Debbie Gardner, has set me up with a Facebook page. I'm trying to get better with that. I will be launching my podcast. I did it a couple years ago, Pep Talk. So I'm going to get that back off the ground so we can hear voices of some amazing students and staff that are not only in this district, but, other places to hear their stories.
I love that. And I'm so excited to watch it and to continue to amplify the great things that you are doing in your district and your entire team. I believe we are going to see you keynoting. Is that right? Are you going to be at the Maryland?
I am on a panel. Yes. Looking forward to that.
Really, really excited to see you in November and to hear your voice on the panel and thinking about some of the experiences that you can share with us as principals and school leaders across the state of Maryland. So we're really excited to see you in November. And I want to lift up a couple more things before we close. But first, I always want to say thank you to everyone who's on the call tonight. We hope that you are leaving tonight feeling energized, feeling ready to support your staff and all the new initiatives that your district is going to have this year. Remember that ALIGN framework. Can you share one more time the acronym for that? Thank you.
A stands for articulate. L stands for link, make the connection. I stands for implementing it your way, only your way. Don't try to do someone else's way. G, gather your evidence and your data to back it up. And N, navigate, be able to pivot.
Awesome. Thank you. That was really important. So I want to make sure that we lifted that up one more time. I also want to invite everyone here to come back next week. We're going to go 2 in a row. We are going to have Dr. Kabeen here. Dr. Kabeen is a principal in Minnesota and just is a renowned school leader. She's going to be talking with us about how we can really set ourselves up for success in our schools in that first kind of 30 days of the school year. So I'm really excited to hear her and to hear her leadership. I also want to encourage you to pick up a copy of Relational Intelligence, the Key Factor to Exceptional School Leadership. It is available anywhere where books are sold, and we hope that you will really appreciate some of the strategies for relationship building and trust, communication, and connection with our staff as we're entering in the new year. And I want to end by just saying that we hope you have an amazing start to your school year. Definitely. Man, so much work has been done over the past several months. Hiring, we talked about that, working on the school improvement plan and hearing all the new initiatives that we're going to be sharing in just a couple of days with our staff. We're going to be welcoming our families back and our students. And we've already been communicating with many families. So there's so much legwork that has been done over the summertime. And now's our time to really push forward, enjoy the start to the school year. That's what I tell people. Yes, it's stressful, but this is like my favorite time of the year. Every school year, I cannot sleep the day before school starts because I get excited about it. I stay up all night. So I'm just like hyped up and wired. And so I hope that you're taking that energy into the new school year and that you're going to sustain yourself with some boundaries and things so we can keep the energy up. That's something that we're going to continue to explore as the school year goes on. So thank you again for your support of this podcast. And I'm really looking forward to bringing amazing guests on and continuing to push the conversations forward with the important work that we do. So thank you for everything that you are doing for your students, that you will do for your students and your families this year and for each other. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for joining us. Bye.